Welcome to Old Classic Car, and in this video collection we're looking at MG saloons, estates and hatchbacks. And to begin with, we pop down to the Haynes Motor Museum and we've got this wonderful black MG Magnette VHW 398. This is a 1955 MG ZA. Next up in this collection of classic MGs, we have 118HYV. This is an MGYB saloon, the Y series saloon. The first example off the line, in fact. This one dates to 1952. This was powered by a 1250cc XPAG engine. Down to the NEC Classic Car Show, and we've got an MG Metro here of the early 1980s, but not just any old MG Metro. This is an MG Metro Turbo. Next up, another MG Magnette, a beautiful example here, also at the NEC 588 APC. This is another ZA Magnette. This was registered first in Surrey, sometime after January of 1956. Obviously got an MGB GT alongside, but this video mainly looks at the non-sports cars, the sporting saloons, hatchbacks and estates. Now down to Malvern, VRW 765 is an MG Magnette ZB. This is a Coventry registered car, 1958 in date. Note the Webasto full-length sunroof on this particular car, very nice indeed too. Over to Gaydon, the British Motor Museum, and here we have a non-turbo MG Metro on the old pepper pot alley wheels. I remember Mum's Metro had a set of those on. This has got an aftermarket grille on it, incorporating a couple of fog lamps or spot lamps. Very, very clean car indeed. One of the later cars to feature in this video, but it's an MG, so BD02EAA ZTT. This has got the 2.5 litre V6 engine built in March 2002. Now we head back to much earlier MGs, ESV 518. This is a 1950 Y-type saloon. Retrospectively, these were referred to as the YA, but when they were current, it was just the Y-type, the Y saloon. Very smart indeed, two-tone car here at Alton Park. Got an MG Maestro here, bit of a rarity this, quite an early one. The original alley wheels on this particular car. That's on a B plate, so about 1984 or thereabouts. Quite a rare survivor now. Next MG, we have a two-door MG. Now, is this an 1100 or a 1300? I believe this 1971 car is the MG 1300. So that's got the 1275 A-series engine, twin carburetors, transversely mounted of course. Nice set of period Dunlop alley wheels on this car as well. Really, really smart indeed. Back to Alton Park, another two-tone MG here, G186. That's a ZB Veritone for two colours. And a much, much larger rear window, which you can just about make out if you peer through the inside of the car there. Really large wraparound rear window on these cars. Back to more recent times, PJ04NPU. That's an MG ZS. I think these were built from about 2001 through to 2005, so quite a late example based on the R45 Rover, the saloon. Nice old Farina here now, 129FAJ. That's an MG Magnette, the Mark IV of 1963. So that would have had the 1622 B-series engine, twin carburetors. This was a sporty Farina, if you like. You had the Austin, Cambridge and the Morris Oxford, of course. Another one here, again badge engineered, MG Metro GYB 390Y. This one from about 1982 or thereabouts, and again on those pepper pot alley wheels. And a rear three-quarter view of the same car, but at a different event. This was at an event celebrating 60 years of the Mini, held at Gaydon, the British Motor Museum. We've got Mini in the background now and a couple of Metros here. Really smart little car. Next up to Alton Park on a race day a few years ago, taking part in the MG Car Club MG Trophy Championship, a gaggle of MG ZRs here. Another beautiful Magnette here, 456 AVO. This Magnette dates to 1958. It's a ZB. If you compare the photos of the various ZAs and ZBs throughout this video, you'll see different rear window sizes, slightly different side trims down the side. That helps identify the cars. And back over to Upton Park. This is quite a rare one, PK53 RCZ. This is one of the rare V8 engined MG ZTs. Of course, this model was based on the Rovers 75, but these V8 cars are very, very different under the skin. Quite a bit of a wolf in sheep's clothing by all accounts. Back to one of the ADO 16 cars, MG 1100 or a 1300. I'm not quite sure which this one is, but it's a two-door car. Really immaculate. I like the radiator cover on the front of this one as well for winter use. Another beautiful MG Magnette here, 487AHY. This is a ZB, and this car was first registered in 1957. I think this was down at Malvern in the mid-2000s, quite a few years ago now. Is it still on the road? Let me know in the comments if you can shed light on any of the cars featured in this MG video. Now to the reserve collection down at the British Motor Museum. We've got HMO 909, a 1953 MG-YB. This spent much of its early years taking part in privateer rallies, club rallies, that kind of thing. So it's got a bit of a sporting history, this particular car. Back over to Upton Park, another little MG Metro here. Seen being prepped in the paddock area, another one just beyond it as well. Carrying on with these MG saloons, estates and hatches, we have this wonderful old photograph. This is already featured in one of the old photo videos on the Old Classic Car channel, but here we've got 366 BRY and Mark III MG Magnette, Leicester registered from about May of 1961. Another MG ZS saloon here, the four-door saloon. Obviously had the ZR, which was the hatchback, and the ZS, which was the four-door saloon. Smart little cars, I think these are. Back to the ADO 16s, we've got HJV815E, that's a 1967 MG 1100, four-door car this time. Nice to see a good one of those. These things rotted incredibly well. Even though the ADO 16 was bestseller for I think 8 years during the 1960s, rot saw them off so quickly. Now here's a beauty I spotted at the Tatton Park Classic Car Show quite a few years ago now. CKA 47 is the reg of this one. This is a 1936 MG SA Saloon. What an absolutely stunning car, bit of a barn find MG. I like the mannequin apparently working under the bonnet of this particular car. There's another photo of it. What an incredible car, just look at that door trim, so well preserved. Now has this car gone on to be restored? I don't really know. It's Liverpool registration, about May 1936 or thereabouts. It still shows as registered but not taxed, so I wonder if it's seen much use since this photo was taken. Here we go, a bit more recent, YAS 446 of the MG Magnettes. This is a Mark IV, I think, from about 1964. Again, showing off its 1622 B series twin carburettor fed engine there. This was seen not that long ago, maybe last year, 2022 or 2021, I don't remember, but F482HWJ, an MG Maestro. It's a 2-litre car, this one. There was a turbo option as well, but I think this is a non-turbo car. There is a turbo elsewhere in this particular video, but there's a rear three-quarter view of it. I included a couple of photographs because these are so thin on the ground now. Quite a late example. Obviously MGs were often badge engineered versions of saloons, and that's very much the case with the Maestro here, but what a rare survivor that is, and it looks in great condition. I like the mud flaps too. Back to ZAs and ZB Magnettes, we've got SOH 400 here, and this I think is a ZA going off that hockey stick trim down the side of the front wing there, and a lovely example too. A couple of Lucas spot lamps on the front, really nicely turned out. This I think was at Western Park. Back down to the NEC, and we've got the Metro 6R4 rally car, badged up as an MG, of course. And I don't think there's a great deal of MG in there. It's got a rear-mounted V6, or at least they did originally. There are some slightly different specs of cars out there, but this is definitely part of MG's history. As is this FBD 5C, that'll be a 1965 MG Magnette. Really, really nicely turned out car. Very few of these survive now in good condition. Rot and banger racing and so on has killed off many of these fine old saloons. There's a rear three-quarter view of the same car. Got a shiny exhaust trim on this one, or perhaps a stainless steel exhaust. It's got a tow bar as well, so you could put a period caravan on the back of your big Farina and go driving around holidaying in style. There's a nice little A40 or A50 Cambridge part in front of it as well, a bit earlier. Back over to Upton Park on a race day, we've got an MG ZA 170. The number plate proudly proclaims, and that helped me out no end in identifying this particular car. And looking at the sticker on the sill there, this photo I took back in 2017. Still plenty of MGs to go. Here's another one, VML 128G. That's a 1275cc powered MG 1300, registered in August of 1968. And how immaculate is that car? What a Bobby Dazzler that is. Twin carburetors, very much like a slightly larger Mini Cooper S in many ways. Also Isigonis design. Much more recent now, the dying days of MG before the Chinese bought them up. EK05SJY. Really smart example. Back to Upton Park, and I haven't got too many photos of MG Montegos, so I had to include this race prepared example in this video because I didn't want to miss them out. But I hardly ever see Montegos, to be honest, but the MG versions are very thin on the ground now. Back to ZAs, and this Magnette is showing off its B-Series engine there. Really cracking example. I don't quite remember which classic car show this was at, but what a smart example that one is. Proper sporting saloon of the 1950s. These have always remained very desirable. Now, I mentioned turbo versions of the MG Maestro before, and here we've got G831 EOP, G registration to about 1989 or thereabouts, but I don't think even that many were built back in the day, and very, very few of these survived. Most have been put through hedges or simply rotted away. Now, much older MG now. This is a glorious car, registered EPX273, dating to March of 1939. This is an MG VA saloon, the 1.5 litre, as it was known back in the day. Yep, this car dates to 1939. These were built from 1937, there's a rear view, 1937 to 1939 only. So they weren't made in huge numbers, and survivors are very thin on the ground. I did look this one up. It shows as not being taxed at the moment, so maybe it's being restored or preserved, tucked away somewhere. If you know any more about this wonderful old survivor, please let me know. I'd love that. And here we go. And Montego, an MG Montego Turbo, no less. This is a very rare car, and this one was super clean, F457 MAA. This was spotted at Malvern at the Classic Car Show down there in 2022. Yep, I just had to have a good look at this one. There's a rear three-quarter view of the same car. So few of these survived. They rotted quite merrily. The rear arches used to go quite frilly, fairly quickly. If anything, most of the Montegos I seem to see seem to be estates because they're quite practical, but saloons, hardly ever see them now. This was at Malvern, but quite a few years earlier, SLX 686, another MG Magnette. This one dates to 1956, looks like a very original car in its original black paint. It still shows as being taxed, so happily, presumably, it's still in use somewhere. I wonder if the same can be said for all the other old cars there. Back to the NEC, another MG Metro here, a bit later this one than the ones we saw before. F214 BKR is about 1988 or thereabouts, a sporty, pepped up version of the standard Austin Metro. UMG 215, that's a 1951 London registered MG Y Saloon, or YA as they were retrospectively known. Really smart example here in two-tone green. like I say, if you know any more about the cars featured, please pop a note into the comments. Let me know which cars are your favourites out of this lot. Now, this was at Kelsall Steam Rally a few years back, 487 AHY. This ZB Magnette dates to 1957. I think we've already seen one photo of this particular car, but such a smart example in all over green, I thought I'd include another one here. And here we have, thanks to the information board at the front there, a ZT260 SE. That's a rare old bird, that is. 2004 build, 260 brake horsepower, V8 engine. LPF 590D, D-Reg signifies 1966, and it is an MG 1100. This one a four-door car, finished in black. Back over to Alton Park in the paddock area, we've got a couple more MG ZRs. The one on the left is a ZR 170, and the one on the right is a ZR 160. Now here's an oddball. This was at Weston Park years and years ago, about 2005 or 6, something like that. TWX 325, a convertible version of an MG Magnette. Who did the conversion? I have no idea. I assume this is probably a recent-ish conversion rather than an in-period job, but if you know more, let me know. BL54 MWY, another four-door saloon MG there. Approaching half distance in this particular video, and another Farina MG Magnette, FNN 891C, dates to 1965. Prior to 1967, the registration letter at the end of the registration signified the year, because that series, like in this case C, ran from January all the way through to December, but in 67 that all changed. Here we've got a rear three-quarter view of the same Farina MG Magnette. Really smart example in two-tone, because this one's still on the road. I mean, this was probably 17 or 18 years ago I took this photo, so it may still be going, or it could be tucked away somewhere being restored, who knows. If you do, let me know. MG Metro Turbo here, different alley wheels on these slightly later cars, but yeah, good ones are these. Are getting a bit thin on the ground now, so you don't see too many good ones like this. Lovely sunny day here at, I think, Weston Park, if memory served. Really smart black example of the MG Magnette. As you can see, this slightly later car has the bigger rear window and the different trims, and they no longer had the hockey stick trim on the front wheel arch going back down the door. They had a higher trim that ran down the side of the bonnet too, and here you can see a rear three-quarter view of the same MG Magnette, just showing the differences in the trim that was applied to these cars throughout the production run back in the 1950s. Of course, these were replaced by the Farina shape MG Magnettes, and not everyone at the time entirely approved. Many people didn't think it was actually an improvement. Next up, an A-Reg 1983 MG Metro. Looks like a very original car. It's got a period pop-up glass sunroof as well. Was that a standard fitting in the MG Metros? I don't remember now, to be honest, but if you do, please pop a note into the comments. Mum had a Metro with a Stage 2 MG engine in it, but it wasn't actually an MG Metro. And here, from 1967, we've got a four-door MG 1100 here, JRY 828E. The rear three-quarter view of a ZTT, dating to about 2004, going off that registration. Very appropriate MG 04 CAL. If you prefer your MGs two-seater like, there is a separate video collection on here already with MGBs in it, and if there's any interest I could do one in MGAs as well, just let me know. Anyway, FDY 798, or 788 rather, another four-door Y-Series saloon. I think this is a YB, going off the information just in the screen there. It's steel sliding sunroof open here, so good weather was on the cards for that particular day. A slightly gloomier day here. I think this was at Tatton Park. I've got a D-Reg 1966 Farina MG Magnette Mark IV. Again, always useful to see these information sheets in the windscreen. It does help with putting these videos together, and just even when you're walking around the show, it's always great to read a little bit about the history of each car. Now, Malvern 2022 was the setting for this MG being caught on film. If you haven't seen the video yet, there is a video all about Malvern 2022 elsewhere on the channel, so please check that out if you haven't already. It was a huge turnout of cars, certainly one of the best shows I went to last year. This car registered 583 FMH, dated to 1955. Now here, EPE 545, here's a grand machine. This is an MG SA, a Surrey registered car from 1936. What a glorious pre-war MG that is. The low roofline, the long bonnet, what a fantastic looking car. Here we've got another MG Metro Turbo, another rare survivor, B118AYA, dating to 1984. I like the old AA relay sticker in the back window there, very good. The Boss, the plate says on this one, but that's obviously not its registration, but the information board tells us that this is an MG Magnette ZB, registered 428ATN. You can just about see the lovely leather interior as well through the windscreen there. Really, really nice car. Very grubby car in the motor museum. I think this was down at maybe the museum at Bourton-on-the-Water. I don't quite remember, but obviously it's a rally prepared car. You can see a photo on the wall there. This car dates to 1964. Obviously used with a bit of historic rallying, and it's been left exactly as it finished its last event. Here we've got a rear three-quarter view of a two-tone MG Magnette, probably one of the vari-tone cars, going off that huge wraparound rear screen. The very first ZA Magnettes had a much smaller rear screen, and that's a good way of telling them apart. Back to Metros, we've got ODO 357Y from 1982, bright orangey red colour. I forget the name of this particular colour, but I'm sure someone watching this video will know. But yeah, another really clean car. A couple of classic rally cars here from the 1980s, and in the foreground, of course, we've got the MG Metro 6R4. What a beauty this one is, NS3510, an MG Magnette, 1957, and it's a ZB. This was at the Cape Thorne Classic Car Show, and again, if you haven't seen the video yet, there are videos on the channel for several of the Cape Thorne meetings that we've been to over the last year or two, so please hunt those down because there were some cracking cars there. And I think this was also at Cape Thorne, I think. We've got an F registered MG Metro Turbo. Everything colour keyed in white. We can just about make out the bright red seatbelts inside these cars. That was a standard fitting on the MG versions of the Metro. I well remember seeing that in brochures back in the day. And a head-on view now of CSK 333F. So what's that, 1967 or early 1968, MG 1100. Still plenty of old MGs to go. And here we have another MG Maestro, probably non-original wheels, but yeah, a rare survivor, F555 EFM from about 1988 or thereabouts. Now this was down at Stoneleigh, I think, Race Retro. I think this was in the car park, UMU879. It still shows as tax now on the road. This car was put on the road originally back in October of 1952. Like I said before, these MGY saloons have the 1250cc X-Pack engine. XYC761. Got another Magnette here. I think this is a Veritone ZB. Lots of period car badges on the front there, and some lovely Lucas lamps with the rare covers on them. Really, really nicely turned out car. What a great user that would be. Daily use car. Bit more recent, VK04TWL. There's another ZS Saloon, a four-door saloon. Carry on with this video about classic MGs. We've got this glorious pre-war MG saloon. This is a beautiful car. I think this was at the Lowton Park VSCC hill climb we took this photograph. The registration, if you're interested, is WL6144. This is an 1880 saloon and was put on the road. Here we go, there's a rear three-quarter view. I think this was actually at a different event, but it's the same car. Yeah, this was put on the road in March of 1929. It's got a 2.3, well 2.4 just under engine. But yeah, that's a really rare car, that is. There's an open top car that goes around some of the events near here, but I haven't seen that saloon too often. Now, this was at Cholmondeley Castle when they used to hold a classic car show there, and here we've got GCC 814G. So that's a Welsh registered MG. I think it's a 1300 by that point in time, but it could be the 1100. I should really check on that one, but it's a two-door car, bright red and immaculate. Now to Malvern in about 2006 or thereabouts. It's got a rear three-quarter view of a ZB Magnette Veritone, registered YCO 260. Is this car still on the road? It looked to be in pretty good condition back then, but you know, 15, 16 years later, anything could have changed really. Another one of the lesser spotted, hardly ever seen MG Maestro turbos here. I'm not sure the wheels are original, but I could be wrong. Don't hold me to that. But yeah, I think this was at Capesthorne Hall a year or two back. And there's a rear three-quarter view of the same car. Still plenty of these old MGs to go, so fear not. Thank you if you've made it this far. Now, wonderful here. This is a post-war MG, MKA 933. This is a YA. This one dates to 1951 apparently. There's an MG, what's that alongside? A TD, I think. But yeah, these little saloons built just after the war. Really, really nice car. There's a close-in three-quarter view of a Farina MG Magnette. As you can see, the sticker in the rear window says that the owner was a member of the Cambridge and Oxford Owners Club, which caters for all these Farina-designed cars of the late 1950s and 1960s. There's a front view of the same car. Really, really smart 1967 car. A couple of extra badges on the front and no-tech blue spot lamps on the front there, on the front of the lamps. You can just about see those. Yes, really, really nice. This would have the 1622cc engine. Previously they were 1489. Back to Cholmondeley Castle and the much missed classic car show there. We've got a GCE 622E 1967 four-door MG 1100. On the local road run here, arriving fully loaded, is another example of the MG Metro. Here's a smart car, thanks to Vince for this photo. EKC 777, another example of the super rare 1938 MG SA Saloon. What a beautiful looking car, that is so stylish. You can just about see some photos on the front there of it being restored. But what a cracking car that is. Here we go, 54 plate, so that's what, 2004 or thereabouts. Another MG ZS Saloon. These are getting rarer, and by all accounts, they're quite a good steer. This is more my kind of era. Now this one looks really purposeful. Seen Alton Park 621 ATF. I think that's a ZB Magnette on slightly wider steel wheels. Looks very purposeful, sat on those, and that looks just great, I think. What a fantastic car that would be to own. Got another ADO 16 here, UYB 870G. This is an MG 1300. Now, I did look this one up on the DVLA website, and it's been untaxed since 2009. So where is it now? Is it still around? Has it been broken for parts? Is it mid-restoration? Is it just tucked away in someone's garage somewhere? I'd love to know. And on a similar theme, we've got a close-in view, under the bonnet view, of a 1966 MG 1100. Now you can just about see the twin carburetors there and the air cleaner perched right up against the bulkhead. Not the easiest carburetors to work on, but certainly changing the spark plugs is a bit of a breeze on these cars. Back to Tatton Park, NKE 571, rear three-quarter view of that one, another one of the Y saloons. Bit of auto jumble going on in the background there. This was probably about 2005 or thereabouts, so hopefully the car is still on the road. Another MG Metro. This one looks like it may have just been found. The front valance showing the typical rot that was a common thing on Metros back in the day. It was quite common after just a few years. You'd see people would paint the front air dam there matte black, brush paint it. You'd often see that, and then the sills would start to be painted matte black and the wheel arches and so on, as people sought to keep them going. Now FSK 898, another MG Magnette. This one dates to 1959. So this is the Mark III Magnette. These were built from 1959 to 1961, twin carburetors, but only 1489cc, unlike the revised Mark IV that had the 1622cc engine. Now Malvern, there's nice Austin Cambridge on the left there, but the focus of our attentions here is a very smart H-registered MG 1300 in brown. Not a colour you see too often. I like the January 1970 tax disc in the window of this particular car as well. Period RAC badge on the grille too. Excellent. Now here, MPW 592. This was seen quite a few years ago at Tatton Park. This car was registered in August of 1951. It's got the standard 1250cc engine under the bonnet of this car, very similar to that in the MGTD sports car, if I remember correctly. The previous year it was very faded, but it looked a lot cleaner there. Now we've got a 1985, is that right? Yeah, about 1985 MG Metro, the three-door hatch there. Nice little Mini alongside it. Is that one of the Mini 30s? Yeah, this was at Malvern. You've got the Malvern Hills in the background there. But yeah, good to see it out and about on this very sunny day. Lovely little Magnette here, an MG Magnette from 1958, the information board tells us there. This one's got white wall tyres on it and very jazzy. Not so sure about these headlamp peaks. I'm not hugely a fan of those, but otherwise that's a great car. Bit of a rainy day, shame to have it out and about, but that's what they're for. Back to Alton Park, I think, and we have a rear three-quarter view of one of those V6 powered MG Metro 6R4 rally cars. Not too long to go. If you've made it this far, thanks for sticking with this MG's video. Hope it's been of interest. Now, what do we have here? This is another period photograph, but where was this photo taken? Obviously, I think it's a four-door version of the MG 1100. It's got a matching pair of Lucas fog and spot lamps added to it, but where is that registration? What country was that car registered in? Clearly it's left-hand drive, but more than that, I don't know. Now, Boy 451. First of two photographs of this beautiful car. I think I photographed this one at Oswestry at the classic car show there back in, I think, 2017 or thereabouts, but this is a beauty. An MGSA Sports Saloon from 1936. Just look at the paintwork and the chrome and the lines of that car, very similar to the SS Saloons. William Lyons' cars, very similar in design to these MGSAs. You could get an open-top car, but for me, I think one of these fixed-head saloons would be the way I'd go. Beautiful. I love the split two-piece rear window as well. Spare wheel under its own cover on the back as well. And that gorgeous MGSA saloon rounds out this collection of MG saloons, estates and hatchbacks. I hope that was of interest. Please have a mooch around the rest of the channel before you disappear. Have a great day, and there'll be more videos along very, very soon. So bye for now.